What's up? My name is Ken Dumbo, the MC with the sauce. Don't forget to subscribe to J. Cool.
It came with challenges because we.
Isn't that a good challenge to have, though?
But if you have planned, it shouldn't. The challenge would have been avoided. But to meet the same objective.
Well, clearly, you have a very, very strong opinion on this, Honourable. I want to find out from you also, because, again, you're from a rural constituency. We've been hit with a drought. How badly affected is Shwangandu constituency?
Shwangandu was not so much adversely affected by the drought.
Okay.
Yeah, but before I finish on the aspect of education, you know what? Look, if you look at those of us who come from the rural areas and many others, the free education that was there during the First Republic of Dr. Kaunda, people were coming from the rural areas, from the primary school to go to the secondary schools, and from the secondary schools to get to Lusaka. The first time many people would be coming to the University of Zambia, to the college, even Hon. It was structured, well structured, and we have many eminent Zambian citizens who have come from that background, where they benefited from that policy of free education. So if we wanted to get back to that, there was a lot of work that needed to be done. And hear me, I'm not saying the policy is bad. The policy is good, because that's how we have built this nation. By the time Dr. Kaunda and his colleagues were attaining independence, there were very few graduates. They were able to count them. But because of the policies that they implemented, deliberate policies in the education sector, we saw so many Zambians, getting educated and coming to develop the country to the level it is today. And that's how it has been.
Okay.
So we can't say at any given point the government haven't deliberate policies to support the education sector. So we need to have that in mind and say, where we are now, we could have just said, okay, let's go in this direction of going back to the drawing board so that we can gradually start offering free education. And these are the packages. This is the budget support that we're going to give to the schools so that we don't create a gap. So it's a good policy creating a challenge. And then you start dealing with the challenge. And that's an issue that I'm speaking to.
Earlier on, you said your constituency was not. Your constituency wasn't really affected by the drought.
Luckily, that region, the northern part of this country, has been spared in terms of drought challenges. The only challenge that our people had the previous season and the recent past season, especially for our small-scale farmers who depend on rain-fed agriculture, was the distribution of inputs. You remember we lamented even in Parliament that our farmers were getting a raw deal. Some farmers who were not ready to be graduated from the program to be self-sustaining. So they were graduated from the program, and so they remained out of production. And what that did was the few who were able to access the inputs were now made to share the little inputs they received in what they call medas, those tins.
Yes.
And that piece has affected production not only in Shwangandu constituency, but in many other constituencies. Abantu bali kwata maka ya kulima balimina tu ifakula kwati bali bashitisha kuna kuchalo kuma Eastern Province, Northern, going to up to Northwestern. Kulia okwenfula yale tashani yali lokabwino. Most of the years takuba drought. So production drastically reduced. And I'm happy that yesterday, the Honorable Minister responsible for community development was able to acknowledge the adverse weather effects. So that's how it's balanced up. But now, it would appear that Honorable Mutoro had it different, because he ended up taking so much of inputs in these areas which are affected now, so much inputs there, and on the other side, where he should have taken more, were deprived. So
Was
what
it,
will
was it
happen now?
deprivation? Because Honorable Kampyongo, because this issue to do with farmers graduating did not just start now. Even in the PF administration, you were trying to help farmers graduate.
Yes.
They needed to graduate. There were farmers that were on the program more than 3 seasons. That's
Yes.
more than 3 years, and it's stipulated. Those are the laws, should I say, that guide farmer input, where they need to graduate and allow other farmers to get on the program.
I totally agree with you. And that's why you saw some of the interventions that were being implemented by the ministry, such as using the e-voucher platform. So that, what that meant was that for those farmers where we were having challenges like the weather patterns, they could have a variety of what to do. And ensure that where they were, like the reasons I'm referring to, production is maintained. Now, how were we planning to address that challenge of farmers not graduating? We needed to harmonize between the social safety net programs that are being implemented under the community development, where they also distribute packs for the vulnerable but viable farmers. These are farmers that are vulnerable, just have got no means. That's a program that is at community development. So our desire in terms of going forward was that we have a 2-tier support system. The Ministry of Agriculture to streamline and identify viable farmers that were going to be supported, who then can be graduating gradually from the project. Those that were going to be viable but vulnerable farmers who couldn't graduate were then going to be migrated to the social safety net programs under the community development. So that's how it was going to be. And I agree with you. Yeah, because it was a challenge. But believe you me, it's one program that every stakeholder has appreciated because it has contributed to the food security sustenance in the country over the time. Yeah.
All right, so you've been MP for...
So basically, in completing it all, that the Minister of Agriculture has got a lot of work to do. And I was listening to some program where they have been studying the soil textures and whatnot. Yeah, but look, all those things have been done in the past. And that's what informed the distribution of inputs into these areas. But we were shocked. Let me tell you this piece. When the Minister of Agriculture came to the House to announce how he was cutting down the distribution of packs, Copper Belt, which was, I think, at more than 200,000 plus beneficiaries, was reduced to something like 95,000. And we were wondering, what parameters could they have used to determine this? All these provinces that I was talking, Northern Region, Northern Province, Mchinga, and Eastern Copper Belt, and to some extent Central, had their reduction so that they could, apportion to the other areas. But this has now, resulted into the crisis that we have. And worse still, our colleague, the Minister of Agriculture, when we lamented on the floor, advising him that we started accumulating the maize stocks from as far as 2016, those that they found in sheds, preserved for the rain day. He came and started offloading, exporting. And we told him, you can't start exporting before you know how much you are going to be producing in a year. Because the past 3 years has seen the reduction in terms of production. So meaning, this challenge we are facing of high prices of mini meal could have been avoided if our colleagues listened. Mind you, ours, working with the government is not being praise singers. No. Working with the government is pointing to the wrongs and saying, look at this. Make sure that you address this. These are the counter proposals. You don't have to like us as people in the opposition. But if you can accept our ideas, which are good ideas for the people of Zambia, well and good. That could be the best working arrangement.
Okay.
So,
Honorable Kampyongo,
we are where we are
now
because of those poor decisions that were made. Today, the Pamela that shouldn't have been seeing itself on the streets is the order of the day. And those that are affording this shuko, pantu, just to put a bag of minimum in the home of a citizen has become a very big challenge.
You've been MP for 13 years now. You're in your third term. Do you intend on recontesting this seat in 2026?
Again, please, when you stake yourself for public service, it's not about me. No. You see, the people of Zambia are the ones to decide who stakeholders requested that we defer the bill, which was widely a product of consultations. It was the Law Development Authority working with so many stakeholders, the Interparliamentary Union, CPA, they all had contributed their input to that bill. So there was a request that let's deal with the constitutional issues first before we could proceed with the Public Order Act. So there's work that has already been done, and they just have to pick it up from there. But coming back to what you said, the Public Order Act, the old one in its current form, spells out what everybody is supposed to do for those that would want to have a public rally by notifying the police and the police facilitating that public rally. So it has been unfortunate for categorically just for the Inspector General to come and say, no, we can't permit rallies because it's in the first place against the law. And what's still the pronouncements that have come from the IG, such as no, we can't, we have been reluctant to allow people to have rallies because the other camp is ready to attack. And that's why if you heard my earlier comments to those that I spoke to who were seeking for my comments, I did indicate that by that itself, it's like the Inspector General conceding failure, that is not able to enforce the Public Order Act by doing what? By allowing those that would want to gather and protect them, and ensure that those who want to disrupt such gatherings are dealt with.
Don't you think those are legitimate reasons for the IG to say, listen, the security
they are not legitimate? Then it means it's saying it's inadequate to protect
the security is not really up to scratch, and I won't be able to protect both sides here, and this shouldn't be allowed. And I want to take you back to your time as minister, because there were times when you were very strong about people gathering, and you issue stern warnings and strong warnings, saying, as long as the police have said this, we're going to stand on it.
Isolated instances. Isolated instances. And I think you are referring to that time when we had the COVID restrictions. We had the wrong spell of that COVID restrictions. But even then, there were certain gatherings that were permitted, because even the ruling party now, and I'm surprised that we are not having engagements. We would have engagements behind the scenes. I do recall that the ruling party were to have their national convention at the peak of COVID-19. We start with the leadership because the police had a different view. But then I said, let's look, because this is a must do. They want to choose leadership and fill the gaps in their national management. So we sat with the leadership and agreed on how they were going to do I don't know what they call it, but something similar to a convention of choosing leaders across the country, which they did. We agreed on the parameters, and the police were guided to make sure that was allowed. So, yes, in isolated circumstances, it is understandable. But where it's not justifiable, certainly it's not justifiable. But
so
that,
from your experience as minister, these reasons are unjustifiable that the IG is putting forward now.
Yes, especially when you say the other group is ready to attack. So you're saying I've got no capacity as a person charged with the responsibility of maintaining law and order and ensuring that people's liberties are granted.
Does the Zambia police have the capacity to maintain law and order? In as far as cadreism is concerned? Because that's where the threat is for the opposition if they can.
They do have the capacity. But it depends also on how the command is positioned. What law of instruction that is coming from the command in order for them to discharge those functions. That's where the challenge is. And to some extent, I can agree that the Inspector General may need some kind of political support. But he must come out, must stand out. I have issues of course, the IG being appointed from retirement, because the report is there at Parliament. We were not speaking from nowhere, not just that we were talking about the individual. The Committee on Security and Parliament went to tour and see how the police was operating. And they came up with the consolidated report, which was tabled on the floor. And it was pointing to these matters of saying there may be some gaps, some weaknesses in the command because of these reasons of the topmost job being taken by someone who has been away for a long time, coming back. But also, because what that also does is that it presses prospects, because for all these men and women in uniform, they have got desires, they've got ambitions. When they join the service, they want to prosper. How do they prosper? Is to move through the ranks. And so those that are progressing must be allowed to progress up to the topmost continuously, unless exceptional circumstances. So I personally agree with the report when they pointed to this fact that getting someone who could have retired a long time presses a caveat on the prospects of those others who could have, grown with the system and were arrested and rounded up. You do remember that. And so that's what I'm saying. The police need political support, but they can assert themselves, and the political players who then get to obey. And like I've said, if it was wrong then, it still remains wrong now. And I've said before that, yes, despite the so much work I could have done at the Home Affairs, probably this is one of the issues that I've publicly considered that I could have done more. It's that issue. Okay. And it's popping its ugly head. Not that it's gone. And I've said that you cannot end that program by mere lamentations. It needs a lot of work. It needs a lot of commitment. You remember, even when I was Minister of Home Affairs, I could use my political position to engage colleagues from the UPND. There's my colleague was leader of the youth then. We could get to engage to just create an environment, because it takes both sides. It takes both sides. You remember these issues of cadres crashing started way back. You remember the MMD cadres crashing with the UPND, the Mufumbwe saga, and many others. And then from there it became PF UPND. So this has been with us for some time. And so we need to call it off and be pragmatic and say, this is a problem, and we will deal with it. Look at, I was giving a classic example of what transpired at DEC. And I was saying, we need to give our leaders respect. President Hakainde, I'm not in his party, but he's a president of the Republic of Zambia. The same respect he deserves is the same respect he should go with when he leaves office as a former head of state. And I wouldn't want to see what happened to his predecessor happen to him. That's a culture we shouldn't encourage. So how then were those youths found themselves in a procession and they were unruly in the presence of the police?
Speaking of the police, right there.
The following day, it had to take the president to come out in the manner he did because of what he saw over those UPND cadres that came from the battle site and terrorized citizens in Baule.
Speaking of the police, Honorable, I just want to throw this at you because the IG earlier on this year said the PF administration recruited junkies in the police service at the time you served as Home Affairs Minister. Did you employ junkies in the police service?
Look, I've said that the Inspector General of Police must be responsible. You can't refer to your own fellow citizens serving under you, under your command, as junkies. It's extremely unfair and unjustifiable. You see, when you have got a job, you don't use blame game. You cannot take a trajectory of just blaming others. When you are in charge, you are in charge. Do the correct thing, and people will judge you for that. So you can't, I don't see any school. We have got 3 training facilities under the Zambia Police Service where they say we only want UPND members to apply to be police officers. And I don't think you saw anything like, oh, now we just want PF cadres to apply to become police members of the police service. No. So the Inspector General now should be focusing on capacitating his entire police service. And there are programs there, in-service training programs, and many other programs that can help him capacitate the Zambia Police Service to discharge the duties as assigned by the Constitution. When you hear the head of state, who is Commander-in-Chief, contemplating even the usage of the Zambia Army, whose deployment in internal security matters is restricted by the Constitution, it shows you that there is a big problem.
Doesn't that justify the IG's sentiments that
it doesn't?
You hired junkies?
No, it doesn't, sir. It doesn't justify. Not even one bit. It doesn't. It doesn't. So, he should be concerned, and my honorable brother, the honorable Minister of Home Affairs, must be concerned to hear such sentiments, because other than the few incidents that we have seen, what else is obtaining on the ground that has threatened the internal security to the extent of the Commander-in-Chief contemplating deploying the Zambia Army? What other matters? So this is an indictment on the Inspector General of Police and to some extent the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Okay.
That there's something that you need to do that you are not doing. Right. Because deploying of Zambia Army is restricted in the Constitution. And it is not desirable because the role of the defense is also spelled out in the Constitution. The aspect of dealing with internal security, maintaining of law and order, is a mandate of the Zambia Police Service.
Honorable.
And so if there's failure there,
yeah,
there are options for the Commander-in-Chief. If he feels the command is not meeting the desired expectations of the people, he can make changes and prescribe changes and undertake reforms.
Before we open the phone lines, Honorable, I want you to touch on one more thing. President Hakainde Hichilema revealed during a recent press conference that discussions on WhatsApp groups are under surveillance. Is this not an infringement to privacy and freedom of association of citizens?
Certainly it is. I mean, what would the head of state wanting? I mean, he's got state apparatus to ensure that, you know, even as citizens are enjoying their liberties of association, their liberties of movement. They don't break the law. He's got the state apparatus in place. But I don't think it calls for him, and maybe it was just a slip of the tongue to try and drive a point. I would hope it was a slip of the tongue. But I don't think it's desirable for the head of state to be invading people's privacy in terms of wanting to know what they're saying, what they're doing. I think that's stretching the office of the president to a little bit too much.
I think nothing like that happens in these WhatsApp groups and they people. You were a former, you led a security, you were a minister of a security.
No,
did you have eyes and ears everywhere?
No, but look, I said,
yeah,
the people are at liberty to communicate, to do everything. But when it gets to breaking the law or where there's a threat to the national security, there are apparatus that are there. But you don't have to restrict people and...
because, you know, these police are supposed to be doing their work professionally because they can't, because of you politicians. When you're involved, you always tell them what to do. And it's very difficult when you know you're a minister, you're carrying that flag with you. They'll say yes to everything that you're going to say. You get, so it's very difficult. Like, only if we maybe can just have a system where this police IG isn't, you know, appointed. We need to reduce the powers of the president in terms of, like, you know, appointing. This is why I find that all the institutions, there's nothing that they can do because they are waiting for a minister to say something, as well as the minister is also waiting a directive from the president, which is, it really can't help. In some ways, I think I just feel like, you know, you politicians for the past 60 years now, or in October will be 60 years as a nation, I think you failed. We need some other maybe mechanism on how this country can be run, not with politicians. Politicians, you failed. Starting from where you need up to now where we are, you failed. There's nothing that we can point at to say that this is what politicians have done. You failed us. We need the other way of, like, maybe governing this country, not you politicians. We're done. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mark. It's 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Let's hear from you this morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
Good morning to you. What's your name?
Thank you so much. We are speaking to Brother Chisha in Lusaka.
All right, Brother Chisha, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Honorable Kampyongo, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Mr. Chisha. How are you?
Thank you so much. I have a question for you, Honorable.
Yes, sir.
Those cadres who insulted the former head of state from UPND, are they being arrested so far or not? Is hate speech just from people in the opposition, those who are in the ruling party, even if they use hate speech against others, are they immune? They are not touchable. What made me to ask this question? We have a senior minister from the UPND who issued a statement that people of Luapula are poor of mind. Is that really not tantamount to hate speech, Honorable? Why is it that the law is just one-sided in this country? I'm happy because I'm speaking to the former Home Affairs Minister. How are you operating by that time when we were in the government? The law was selective or what? Because what we are seeing today is totally different from what we witnessed even in PS. Today it's like there are people who are untouchable. They can insult anyone. They can do anything, even on social media. No one is going to follow them. But once someone from the opposition is just any statement, it will be followed like no man's business. Is it how it's supposed to be, Honorable? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We'll squeeze in one more, then we'll allow Honorable Kampyongo to respond to your questions. It's 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Good morning.
Morning, thank you, please, and how are you?
Good, how are you doing? What's your name?
Yeah, this is Mola.
Your name again?
Mola.
Mola.
Yes.
All right, Mola, please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, Honorable.
Good morning, Mr. Mola, thank you.
Yes, sir. I just want to agree with you when you say your cadres they are being arrested whenever they insulting or misbehaving. Because we saw some cadres those people who wanted to bring down the helicopter, then those people, they were under your reign. But what happened to those people? Were they arrested under regime or how? That's my question.
Okay. Honorable, I'll give you a chance to respond to those three.
Thank you so much, Piz. First of all, Mr. Bwadia, Mr. Mark Bwadia, talked about the politicians controlling the police, and that politicians have failed. It's something to try something else. I don't know what he means by that. Yeah, but the role of the Minister of Home Affairs, who has got so many portfolio functions, is to just ensure that it provide policy environment for all those institutions that are under him or under the ministry thrive. It's not the role of ministers to micromanage the police. First of all, it's not even possible for the minister. And where there could be issues, for example, is maybe just an assumption, where officers are thinking, what will happen if we strike? Those are the realities. What will happen if we strike and effect arrests on the cadres? What would happen? You understand? So those are things that can be dealt with, I think, administratively. But I don't think the minister would micromanage the police command on a daily basis. It's not possible because there are so many portfolio functions that he has to deal with on a daily basis. It's the same thing. Yeah. It's the same thing with the commander-in-chief. The commander-in-chief, sometimes, of course, what they say is instructions. Sometimes a pronouncement from the head of state could be viewed as an instruction. And those who are implementing might not even go back to go and clarify and say, what did you mean here? They'll go ahead and, just implement. But the public will see it, that, look, they are just under instructions. So any well-meaning Inspector General of Police should be able to defy even me as a politician if I'm prevailing and say, do the wrong thing, because at the end of the day, it's the buck stops at the Inspector General of Police. At the end of the day.
Oh, no,
so what I was saying...
Yeah, but if you're saying politicians have no influence and they don't micromanage the police, or if you're a Minister of Home Affairs, you don't micromanage the Inspector General of Police, where does the fear...
I said it's a role. Hear me. I said it's not the role of a minister to micromanage. You understand? So depending on what the situation is, and if indeed there's such a thing, that's what I'm saying. Any responsible police officer should be able to tell you that, sir, this is not correct, because if we go that route, this is the situation we are creating.
But where does the fear come from if your politicians are not involved? Where does the fear from the officers come from?
Again, you're also making an assumption.
I'm asking you as former minister, where does the fear of the officers come from? Or maybe I should rephrase this and just ask you directly, Honorable Kampyongo. Did you ever...
What do you expect? What do you expect if... Now, let me respond to it in a more practical way. What do you expect if, for example, at the time that the current government came into office, you saw a huge number of police officers being kicked out? Senior officers who have served the Zambia police for more than 10 years, the Patriotic Front was in government. So they could have joined the police service many years. And you can't brand them to be cadres. Very unfair decision. So what that does is instill fear in other police officers. Mind you, behind those uniforms are human beings with families, even as they are serving. So you need to create an environment for them where they feel if they discharge their functions as spelled out in their code of conduct, they are not going to be victims.
It's the same question that would be applied to you, Honorable Kampyongo.
This is what I'm saying.
During your reign, that's where I think Mark is coming from when he's talking about the police and being micromanaged, where we did see a few officers that have also said, because of the decisions they made, you got rid of them as the PF government.
No.
And we saw them being paraded when the UPND was ushered into office as, we're going to bring this officer back because they were transferred out. We're bringing that officer back because he was persecuted because he did the right thing, or this one did the right thing.
Have done, mind you, they are not also above the law. So there are some people who take advantage. Believe you me, and this might not be the last time if we don't deal with issues. There are people that would want to opt to become partisan, because you don't have to be partisan when you are serving the police service. You understand? So if you are identified as such, whether you're partisan in form of PF, in favor of PF, or in favor of UPND, you are not desirable to be in the service. So if you are identified and the systems that are put in place identify you as such, they discipline you. It doesn't make it right that if you are aligned to Party A and then it forms government, you want to come and say, no, if you feel disappointed, there's what you can do. Either stake yourself up or as a citizen, participate. We don't impose ourselves. We don't just drop from nowhere and say, now I'm councillor, now I'm MP, now I'm president. It's you people that give us the mandate. You can substitute as many times. Look at, for example, the turnover of prime ministers in the British system, who were our colonial masters, and we get so many from there. From the time Cameron left, Theresa May, in less than 10 years, there came Theresa May. Theresa May didn't last for long. There came Boris Johnson, who also didn't last long. There came the Liz Truss, who also just lasted for 40 days. And then now they have got Sunak. They are now going back to elections. So you can substitute as many as possible that will meet your expectations. Bachisha talked about selective application of the law.
Yeah.
It is undesirable. It's not the way to go. And it becomes difficult for the law enforcers to be seen to be fair and transparent if they are selectively applying the law. If peace breaks the same law, if he commits an offense, and this man seated here commits an offense, we must be looked at from the same lenses so that we see some level of fairness. He talked about hate speech that has come from so many quarters. How many people have been arrested to show that everybody, apart from the time that the president gave directives, when we saw that some people were being arrested. There's been this talk about tribalism. How many people have been arrested? And my take on this is that we who are in leadership must say, where is this coming from? As they say, there's no smoke without fire. Where is the smoke coming from? So that we can deal with the fire. Let's quench the fire first before we start blowing the smoke away. This debate about tribalism has got a source, has got where it's coming from. Where is it coming from? Let's address it. Otherwise, arresting this one today, arresting the other one tomorrow, won't be the solution. We have grown up as one Zambia, one nation. That's what we have grown up. Peace, you don't have to look at someone and say, oh, you look beautiful, madam. What tribe are you? Before I can propose to you. That's the Zambia we have known. We coexisted. So, when this debate starts, we must say, where has it started from? What has been done? What has led to this debate? Because we may be dealing with the smoke without going to the bottom. You understand? So, for me, selective application of the law will continue to be a challenge because Zambia police is there for all citizens.
But
it's not only there for the ruling class.
Should that be an option, though? If agreed,
and in any case, we are
agreed that selective, application of the law is terrible. It's bad for the nation. But should that then prompt people to sit at a podium and issue tribal remarks?
Please, if you have heard me correctly, I've said, what has made those people to go and sit at the podium and talk about tribalism? That should be the starting point. Then you can deal with those that are are talking.
It doesn't make it right, though.
No.
To react to a bad thing with
please.
another bad thing, does that make it right?
It doesn't make it right. That's what I'm saying. Let's deal with the root cause. What has generated this debate, which has never been there? You and I have been here, peace. Did you ever come and sit here and talk about tribalism? It wasn't there. So where is it coming from? So that we can nip it in the bud properly. What has been done, which people are now using to talk about tribalism? What decisions have been made? Who has been pressed where? You understand? These are things that we need to look at. So we agree that we need to have a united nation because we can't be productive. We can't. We have got so many challenges here in this country, peace. People are stressed, including you, because to get here, to come from home to here to work, you have to make sure that you have got fuel. Are you able to afford that fuel from the income that you get and get the other things and like food basket to put food on the table of the people? These are the things that we should be talking about. Now people, it has become normal. I remember that the head of state was challenging you to ask you where you had seen load shedding the last time you engaged him. Have you gone back to say, sir, I have now seen load shedding from the time you engaged him? Have you? Peace. So these are things that are stressing all of us, including you. Now the power this power deficit is affecting production. The manufacturing companies now are contemplating probably downsizing in terms of workforce, because if you have got 12 hours of production, it means you have to start adjusting. Look at the big companies like first of all, the milling plants, the milling companies, the likes of the soap manufacturing company, Trade Kings, and many others, those that are in Africa. Now, they have to start adjusting in terms of production. What will that do? It will affect the people that are now working in those areas because they have to break even. Production costs cannot be so high, and in the meantime, you have got this high wage bill. These are the things that we should focus our minds on as leaders. But the fact that when we start focusing on these issues that will just be dividing us and making the country counterproductive, we should address by going to the root cause. What has happened? What decisions have made to generate this debate? Then we can close it.
Okay.
But if we don't address the root cause, it will still be there. People will be still lamenting.
Honorable, let's squeeze in some more calls.
Before we go, selective application of the law. Bola asked me a specific question, whether some cadres who had misconducted themselves in Shwangandu were arrested. I can confirm to you that they were rounded up, and then the person who was responsible for the police command in Muchinga, Mr. Bon Kapeso, who later became Deputy IG of Police, went on the ground and ensured that all of those that participated in that perceived illegality were rounded up and arrested.
Okay. It's 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, guys.
Good morning to you. What's your name?
The voice of Chiro from Chingola Copper Belt.
What's your name?
Chilolo from Copper Belt.
Chilolo. All right, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Good morning, Honorable Stephen Kampyongo.
Good morning, Bachelor.
Yeah, hopefully the people of Pantim Papa Rabarisho.
Kukantimba bari mutende.
Na fuma para pachi furo ya imu ipaka banga ifoti lipesa amba para pa mungu pati.
Kwa ifine kwa ukechambeshi.
Thank you very much. Na tumpo Honorable Mwarando kweba free education yari ishire bwangu murandu wakwe before the government abala chitakuta for infrastructure like ama schools babati accommodate abana bengi abalekala mumishi. Lelo we had one of your patriotic front member ba Nakachinda. As soon as the UPND administration came into government, by the patch to institutional kwebati bale pera ubusoko kubakia shibozo kwebati bafuire bali ba pera abana babwa indalama chakuyalipira ku school because the UPND administration as a party by then party promised free education. Now, ngachakweba ti ama factors don't start considered. It about opposition right issue ama statement. Does this mean kweba ti imweba opposition you are?
Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, J Cool, and turn on the notification bell, cause I'm gonna see you in the next video.